Welcome back, everyone, to my YouTube channel, The Duo Dialogues. Today, we're going to dive deep into a story that I think you'll find pretty inspiring. It's called The Janitor Who Became a CEO. Maybe some of you out there have already seen episode 3 of this series. It's a real classic underdog tale. Someone overcoming the odds.
Yeah, definitely a story that resonates, and I'm sure our listeners are eager to unpack it. And just to give everyone a heads up, our goal today isn't just to rehash the plot. We really want to dig into what this story teaches us about success. What does it say about intelligence and those hidden opportunities that might be right under our noses? So we'll be exploring how even seemingly insignificant actions, or just paying attention to what's around you, can sometimes lead to these huge, unexpected outcomes. But first, let's set the stage. Who is this Ramesh we're talking about?
Okay, so picture this. A large corporate office, very busy, lots of activity. And amidst all that, we meet Ramesh, the janitor. The story paints a pretty clear picture. He's in his 40s, maybe carrying a little extra weight, always got his trusty mop with him, and of course, a cup of chai nearby. It's this image of an everyday worker, someone who might easily blend into the background.
Right, just another face in the crowd, you might think. But here's the thing that immediately sets Ramesh apart, and it's a crucial point. He's not just going through the motions. While everyone else might be caught up in the corporate whirlwind, Ramesh is actually tuning in. He's listening to the conversations happening around him, absorbing the dynamics of the company. What do you think is the significance of this active listening, especially from someone in a position like his?
Well, it gives him this unique perspective, right? As a janitor, he's almost invisible. He has access to all these different spaces. He's in the meeting rooms after those big decisions are made. He's cleaning the hallways where the sales team is stressing out. He might even be near the executive offices, overhearing things. It's like he's exposed to this really diverse cross-section of the company, all the inner workings, both the good and the bad.
Exactly. He's picking up on those pain points, those areas where the company is struggling, things that might not be so obvious to those at the top. The story gives us a few concrete examples, right? There's a product that nobody wants to buy, whispers about financial mismanagement, and a CEO who seems kind of clueless about what's actually going on. And here's what's really fascinating. Ramesh, without any fancy business degree or formal training, starts to develop this very practical understanding of these issues.
Right, like it challenges this whole idea that you need an MBA or years of experience to understand business. Ramesh's insights, they seem to come from this place of just common sense, of paying attention to what's right in front of him. There's this great scene where he hears someone complaining about how the company is losing money on all these boring ads, and his internal reaction is so simple yet so profound. Maybe they should just stop making boring ads. It's like, duh, why didn't anyone think of that before? What does this tell us about the potential for, experts to have blind spots within a company?
It's a great question, and I think it highlights how sometimes when you're too close to something, too deeply immersed in a particular field, you can miss the obvious. You get stuck in your ways, lost in the jargon, and all those established practices. Ramesh, with his outsider perspective, he's able to see things with fresh eyes, unburdened by all those assumptions. Remember that analogy he makes? The company's TV ad? He compares it to watching his cat yawn, like a picture of utter disinterest. It's brilliant. A simple image that speaks volumes in a way that some complicated marketing report couldn't.
I love that. It's so true. Okay, so we've got Ramesh, our observant janitor, soaking up all this information. And then comes this pivotal moment, this accidental intervention.
And this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. It shows how random events, pure chance, can have these huge consequences. So one late evening, Ramesh finds the marketing manager's laptop left open. Just a small detail, right? A moment of chance. But it ends up being the catalyst for everything that follows. What do you think about the role of luck in stories like this? Is it purely random, or is there something more to it?
I think it's both. It's definitely true that Ramesh was in the right place at the right time, but he also had to recognize that opportunity. He had to be engaged with his surroundings. If he hadn't been paying attention, he would have just walked by that open laptop. It was his active engagement that allowed him to see the significance of it, to have something to contribute.
Yeah.
He wasn't just passively observing. He saw a problem, and he felt compelled to offer a solution.
Right, and that's key. He didn't just stumble upon an opportunity, he did something with it. He saw an email draft talking about this emergency meeting, the company's dire financial situation.
Yeah.
And he just went for it, suggesting a completely different approach to advertising. And what was his suggestion? Make the ads funny, make them emotional, make people care. It's so basic, yet so powerful. How do you think such a simple idea can be so effective?
It cuts through all the clutter. You know how it is in the corporate world. Everything gets so complicated, so overthought. Ramesh's suggestion is direct, it's human, it goes back to those basic emotional drivers, which can be easy to forget when you're caught up in all the metrics and market segmentation and all that. Okay, so now imagine the marketing manager coming in the next morning, finding that email. What a surprise.
Oh yeah, total shock. It's understandable, right? Someone messed with his work, he's got to report it. So he goes straight to the CEO, probably expecting some disciplinary action. But here's the twist. The CEO's response is completely unexpected. Instead of getting hung up on the protocol breach, he's actually intrigued by the suggestion itself. It says a lot about him, don't you think?
Definitely. It shows he's open-minded, He's willing to consider good ideas, even if they come from unexpected places. He sees the potential in this anonymous advice and decides to go for it. They launch a whole new ad campaign based on this suggestion from Mott. Well, nobody knows who. And what happens? Boom, sales go through the roof. So now you've got this sudden success based on an unknown source. What kind of atmosphere does that create within the company?
Well, it's got to be buzzing. Everyone's wondering who this mystery genius is, this person who seems to understand the customers better than anyone. The CEO obviously wants to find this person, so he calls a meeting, wants to know who sent that email, and as you mentioned earlier, what follows is just silence. It's a great storytelling technique, building that suspense.
I can imagine everyone looking around, sideways glances, wondering who this unexpected savior could be. And then in this beautifully ironic twist, Ramesh, who's just doing his job, cleaning the very room where this meeting's taking place, he slips and falls. All eyes on him, the janitor on the floor.
It's a perfect moment. Comedic, but also incredibly symbolic. This humble, unassuming guy suddenly becomes the center of attention. And in that awkward silence, he just mumbles sheepishly, that was me. The contrast is just brilliant, right? This ordinary janitor coming up with this brilliant idea. What do you think makes this reveal so impactful?
It's the sheer surprise of it. Nobody in that room, least of all the CEO, would have ever suspected the janitor.
Yep.
It totally shatters all these preconceived notions about where good ideas come from, who can contribute, and then the CEO's reaction. Equally surprising, he laughs, doesn't get angry. There's this sense of disbelief, maybe even amusement at how absurd it all is. And most importantly, he's genuinely curious. He sees something in Ramesh that goes beyond his job title.
It's such a human moment, that laughter. It's like a release of tension, but also this recognition of unexpected brilliance coming from the most unlikely source. And this leads to that pivotal decision, that turning point in this story. Instead of firing Ramesh for, using the marketing manager's laptop, he decides to give him a chance. He wants to test his business acumen. It's a real game changer, this moment where opportunity knocks in a way that nobody could have predicted.
And from there, Ramesh's journey takes this incredible turn. He's brought into company meetings, not to clean up, but as a special consultant. Imagine that. The janitor sitting in on high-level strategy discussions. It's a powerful illustration of how valuable perspectives can come from anywhere. What do you think the reaction of the other executives was?
Well, I'm sure it was a mixed bag, right? Surprise, skepticism, maybe even some resentment. These are people who've spent years climbing the corporate ladder. Now they're sitting next to someone who, by all traditional standards, is way below them. But then Ramesh starts talking, and those doubts quickly fade away. The story gives some great examples of his insights, and they're all rooted in common sense. For the struggling sales team, his advice is simple. Focus on what the customers actually need.
It seems so obvious when you put it like that, right? But you know how it is. Sometimes companies get so focused on their own internal stuff, pushing a particular product, that they forget about that basic principle. And what about the employee dissatisfaction? Ramesh's solution for that is just as straightforward. Treat your employees better. It's about recognizing that human element, creating a positive work environment. It's not complicated, but the impact is huge. What do you think this emphasis on basic human needs in a business context tells us?
It just shows that at the core of any successful business, it's all about people. Your customers, your employees, they're the heart of it all. And Ramesh gets that. His insights are grounded in that understanding. Even with that failing product, his advice is to listen to the customer complaints. It's such a logical approach, and the results speak for themselves. The company doubles its profits within 6 months. That's incredible.
It really is a remarkable turnaround, and Ramesh's own rise within the company is just as amazing. He becomes head of strategy within a year, and then, believe it or not, CEO within 5 years. It's the ultimate underdog story, a janitor reaching the very top of a major corporation. It really makes you think about potential and leadership, doesn't it?
It definitely challenges those preconceived notions about who can lead and where innovation comes from. So for our listeners out there, what are the key takeaways from Ramesh's journey? What can we learn from this story?
Well, the narrator sums it up perfectly, I think. He says, degrees and fancy titles aren't the only measure of intelligence. It's about the ability to observe, to think critically about what you see, and then to actually do something about it. Even if it's just sending an anonymous email, like Ramesh did at first, he didn't let his job description limit him.
And Ramesh himself, now sitting in the CEO's office, sipping his chai, he offers this really powerful thought. Success isn't about where you start. It's about how much you're willing to learn. He stayed curious, he kept observing, he was open to learning, even in what might have seemed like a menial job. And that's what ultimately led to his incredible success.
Which brings us to that final question for all of you listening. Are you paying attention to the world around you? Are you noticing the problems, the inefficiencies, the potential opportunities that might be right in front of you, no matter what your current situation is?
It's a challenge to all of us to cultivate that sense of observation, to not dismiss ideas just because of where they come from, and to be open to the possibilities that might be hidden in the most unexpected places.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Duo Dialogues as we dove deep into the inspiring story of the janitor who became a CEO. We hope this has given you some food for thought, encouraged you to look at your own surroundings with fresh eyes.
Think about those moments in your own life where a simple observation, a small action, might have unforeseen potential. What details are you overlooking right now?
We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay tuned for more deep dives into fascinating stories and ideas. Thanks for watching.